American World Airways announces the departure of flight number 937 to Mexico, Guatemala, Nicaragua, Balboa, and Point South to Rio de Janeiro and Buenos Aires. Pan American Clipper passengers may now go aboard.
Here's your briefcase. You have 49 passengers, and we're all set for departure.
Ready for takeoff, Captain.
Takeoff power. Flaps up.
Flaps coming up.
This is Clipper 38. Off the blocks at 1-4, ground at 2-5. Climbing to cruising altitude.
Allow me.
Oh, mil gracias. Oh, this looks delicious.
Armando Diaz of Mexico City. My friend Enrique Gonzalez.
How do you do?
You speak our language?
Oh, Paquita. Not enough to get along with, really.
Oh, one doesn't need much Spanish to get along in Mexico, señorita. Just learn some of our gestures.
Yes. We Mexicans are tongue-tied if we don't use our hands.
This means, let's eat, as you say in the States.
That's cute.
This means piocha, or swell, as you say. This way we describe everything, from a beautiful girl to a good steak.
But if we speak of Mexico, we say, lo juro. And the two words that you'll hear more often is Mexico, mi tierra.
When a Mexican uses the word tierra, he may mean all of Mexico, or only the valley where he lives, and the mountains that rise above. He may mean the very dust on the road along which he walks, or the patch of land he owns. These are his tierra, his country. A country of old customs, strange dialects, and startling contrasts. Not an easy country to know. It's devoutly religious, and yet being pagan about our feeling for the soil. Most of our people cling to the earth, for in it are the roots of our race. They say that time means change, but not in Mexico. Everywhere you'll see our country people trotting to market on their bare feet, just as they have for centuries. Yes, the very old and the very new live side by side in Mexico. There's a charming legend about our twin volcanoes. Popocatépetl, a warrior, and Ixtaccíhuatl, an Aztec princess, were deeply in love. While Popo was away fighting, a rival said he had been killed. The princess died of grief, and there she sleeps under a white blanket of snow, while Popo keeps an eternal watch over her soul. My hometown is Oaxaca, in the southern part of Mexico. It's a town with an imperishable past. There's a saying that life here is 90% weather, 9% gossip, and 1% business. After church on a Sunday morning, the band strikes up. Gossip and life and worship all center around our plaza, as they do in every Mexican town. Oaxaca is famous for fine serapes, patiently woven by our Indians on the primitive looms of their ancestors. Each of their many-colored designs dates back to the sacred symbolism of centuries past. On a hilltop nearby is one of the great archaeological finds of the century, Monte Alban, reconstructed under government supervision, headed by the distinguished archaeologist Alfonso Caso.
It's very exciting in trying to locate hidden tombs, and in which you find jewelry and pottery. For example, this object, which we found 2 or 3 days ago, is very interesting because it's what's called a pot stand, and it's modeled in the form of a human spine. You can see even the blood dripping from the vessel. Another thing, a thing which is very interesting, is that you always have to start in a mound by attacking it at the base. First of all, you remove the trees, and then you dig a trench in which you arrive at the base of the pyramid, a wall or a stairway. Then you go up till you reach the summit. it's a great mistake to start from the top and work downwards. Because if you do so, you will get the walls on the back, and most probably you will destroy them without even seeing them.
The Zapotec and Mixtec people, who were the builders of the first great cities, were conquered by the Aztecs. Why their civilization declined is still a mystery. But we do know that at its height, it was not matched anywhere else in the world. The Aztecs were conquered by the Spanish. And strangely enough, to this day, our people dance the Danza de las Plumas, the story of their own defeat by the Spaniards. Then there's that other side of our life, the gracious, the unhurried. When we have a fiesta, many of our guests come dressed in the colorful costumes of various surrounding provinces. There is a warm welcome for everyone, and we really practice the well-known Latin American saying, "My house is your house." Perhaps you have seen pictures of the Tehuanas. They are known throughout Mexico for their stately grace and picturesque costumes, with flattering headdresses of starched white lace. In their little town of Tehuantepec in the south of Mexico, the women make up for the drabness of the barren surroundings by using a wealth of color in their elaborately embroidered silks. In everything they do, time is not measured in hours, minutes, or seconds, but today and tomorrow. And mañana always seems a better time than today.
Que burro siempre sigues con las tuyas, pero mañana ya no nos vamos por aquí. ¡Ah, qué burro flojo! A llegar más temprano. ¡Ah, qué burro es!
Don Jesus, what seems to be the trouble with the donkey? Why don't you make the trips?
Mañana.
I want that to be done today.
Mañana.
All right, Don Jesus. Bueno, Don Jesus.
Sí, yo lo voy a
Adiós.
ver. Sí, adiós.
Well, that's Mexico, but not Mexico of today. Now we're improving. We are having modern equipment. We are building new hotels. We are prepared to supply the world for things from the land.
Y traigo pistola al cinto y con ella doy consejo.
Sí, señorita. Mañana is not our work for today. We're making great progress. Wait till you see Mexico City.
It's a stimulating place. Perfect climate, beautiful art and architecture, attractive cosmopolitan people, fascinating shops, and a swift pace that's balanced by tradition, which makes for gracious living. For 13 centuries, Mexico has been a land of builders, and today we are building at a feverish pace. You'll see some of the boldest facades in the world, buildings that are really dramatic examples of contemporary architecture. Along busy downtown streets are hurrying crowds, smart shops full of luxuries, and colorful cafes that serve fine food and spicy entertainment. Right in the heart of the city, mellowed colonial buildings line the Zócalo Square, once the inner city of the Aztec capital. On our famous cathedral are exquisite carvings, fine examples of Spanish 17th century art. In the National Museum, you'll see some of the most important examples of native art in America. The genius of these mysterious people who lived in Mexico before the Spaniards came produced many masterpieces of pure sculpture, some of which are surprisingly modern. Some people say that Mexico's first families came over from Asia, and certainly there is a striking resemblance between Oriental art and pre-Columbian art of Mexico. They were great artists and great city planners, too. Their capital, where Mexico City now stands, was once a maze of canals like Venice. But today, modern boulevards shaded with huge trees take their place. Rare flowers, once carried as the insignia of nobility, are now in the reach of every man. For a peso, your arms will be filled to overflowing. For 10, your car will be banked high. There is still a bit of the beauty of Aztec inventive genius at Xochimilco, the place of flowers. On tiny islands, beautiful flowers grow in profusion. Here you are offered strictly Indian relaxation. Trade, music, food, a drink, and contemplation in a flowery place. Xochimilco is truly romantic. On Sunday, Pedro takes his sweetheart, his basket of lunch, and his guitar for a boat ride on the canals. Or the whole family makes an excursion and hires a boatload of musicians to play to them as they are pulled about in canopied boats. But promptly at 4 o'clock, great crowds throng the corrida. We Mexicans love excitement.
In my opinion, señorita, there is a side more expressive of the real Mexico and more thrilling than the corridas.
Oh, what's that?
Our charreada, the sport of the charros.
It's a society of those who want to preserve the customs and costumes of old Mexico. There is no limit to what a charro will spend on his magnificent costume and fancy trappings for his horse. The real fun begins with tailing. The charro grabs the bull's tail, gives it a twist just so, and the animal is thrown. Maybe.
You know, you have a very light horse, and then you yourself have to be very light also in order to be able to get down, get the tail, and then put your leg around, and then pull it and run away. You know? And you have to do that in a very short distance. You have to be very fast, otherwise you'll miss it. Well, I bet you 10 pesos and he doesn't do it.
No, that's a sugar.
Now, get it. Pull it. That's a good one, Lino. That's a good one. That's a good one. You like that one?
The charro is the symbol of Mexico, just like Tío Sammy's for the United States and John Bull for England and the lion for Spain. And we feel this charro stuff like a little worm that goes into your blood. And, you know, the charro represents the history and the tradition of Mexico. And wherever there's a fight, wherever is a romance, where there has been a victory for our country, wherever we have been defeated, there has been the charro with his arms ready to fight for his country.
No fiesta can end without dancing the jarabe tapatio, the Mexican national dance. The theme is the courtship of the doves. The man dances with his hands behind him with short bird-like steps. The girl is elusive and provocative. Both wear the national costume. The girl, a china poblana dress. The boy, a charro suit.
Attention, please. We'll be landing in Mexico City in 3 minutes.
Oh, the trip's gone so fast. I'd love to see Mexico. Mexico.
Well, here's where we get off. May I help you with your coat?
Oh, I'm not getting off here. I'm going on to Guatemala to visit friends of my family's.
But, senorita, I had already planned to show you so many things.
Oh, well, perhaps on my way back I'll be able to stop in Mexico.
Goodbye.
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 Hasta la vista.
Great thing, flying. You know, my business has certainly improved since I fly up to the home office every month.
Someday I'll take my wife and my family and fly around the world. I never been in England, China, Hawaii, Alaska. Come to think of it, I never been in Guatemala. But that's only next door.
You meet so many interesting people on planes. My Mexican friends had made the time fly by like magic. But now I had to get back to my book on Guatemala, because we'd be there in 2 hours. I hadn't gotten far when I looked out and, Mamma mia, what super scenery! Volcano cones by the dozen, all cloaked in mysterious light. Oh, I felt like a goddess surveying some strange and wonderful new land. There's no other word for it but thrilling. As you know, I've flown just about everywhere, and I can honestly say that one of the most wonderful hours that anyone can spend in the air is the last hour of the Mexico to Guatemala City flight. Don't miss it. When we landed at the airport in Guatemala City, I came out of the clouds in more ways than one. The flight was so beautiful it seemed unreal. Now I came down to earth and my friends. My father's friend and one of his students were there to meet me. Guatemala City is a modern capital with modern ideas, but oh, so remote in character from ours. You know, that's why I love to vacation in Latin America. It's so near in point of time, and yet so totally different in way of life. It gives you a new sense of perspective. I love the contrast in the two cultures. Ox carts beside station wagons. Cows in the streets of exclusive residential sections. Barefoot Indian women with babies on their backs, passing hotels as modern as any in the world. I was fascinated by the terrific loads the women carry on their heads. It looked so easy, and besides, they say it's good for your posture. But when I tried it, caramba! It's not only impossible to balance, it makes you feel like a female Atlas. We spent hours in the many shops that sell Guatemalan handicraft. You know, Guatemalan weaving is outstanding in the world of arts and crafts. Students, designers, and connoisseurs come from everywhere to study and collect this native art. But the majority, like me, just shop for fun, and there's plenty to buy. But to really know a country, you have to leave the cities. So we headed for Antigua. The weather was perfect. They say there are only 2 seasons in Guatemala, sun and shade. Antigua means ancient or old, and Antigua was the old capital, but it was abandoned when an earthquake destroyed it in 1773. It's still mostly ruins to this day, and that's what gives Antigua its character. You see a lovely facade like this of Our Lady of Mercy, and you walk in, and what have you? Nothing but a facade. The roof has fallen in. The walls are crumbling, and children play hide and seek in what was once an inner sanctum. It gives you a strange feeling, sort of as if time were tapping you on the shoulder. Aldous Huxley says Antigua is one of the most romantic cities in the world. Maybe he's right. There's something awfully moving about the ruins and the half-restored dwellings. Artists and writers and just ordinary people like me are attracted to Antigua, not only because of its charm and beauty, but also because of the pleasant and graceful people who live there. Even the children try to speak English.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Once I got the fish alive. Why did you let it go? because he pinched my finger so.
Our hotel in Antigua was a joy. Swimming pool, lovely garden for ping pong or sunbathing, horses for hire, and a marimba at lunch several times a week. One day, some of the employees of the hotel danced for us. They were so gay and ready for fun. The marimba is the musical voice of Guatemala. There was so much to see in Guatemala that we left Antigua. But I'm going back someday when I can stay a long time. The scenery is breathtaking, and no strip of celluloid can possibly capture its grandeur. Lake Atitlan is as beautiful as Lake Tahoe. Oh, I realize that's a bold statement, but ask anybody who's been there. Several villages are dotted about the lakeshore, so we took the launch and visited 3 of them. The market was in session at San Antonio, Polapo. Markets are fascinating and such fun, not at all like the A&P. The loads the men carry are fantastic. The traveling salesmen who go from market to market average about 18 miles a day with an 80-pound load. A carrier returning unloaded fills his cacachte with stones in order not to lose the knack. I love the Indian children. They're so quiet and self-sufficient and helpful. I must find the reason for the difference between their children and some of ours. Life in the Indian villages is around either the marketplace or the wash place. The Mayas, from whom the Guatemalan Indians are descended, bathed every morning. This seemed absurd to the why the good bishop even worried for the souls of people who bathed with such fanatical frequency. There's something about a native village that gives you a strange sense of remoteness in time and space. It's very soothing. Perhaps the Spanish churches and the quiet way the Indians go about their business have something to do with it. Santiago Atitlan would be an inspiration to fashion designers. The women wear white blouses with tight red skirts and a halo headdress, which is made by wrapping a narrow band round and round their heads. The road from Atitlan to Chichicastenango winds up and over and down. You pass many people on the road, all walking to market. For Sunday is market day in Chichicastenango, and everyone within the trottable zone will be there. Guatemala is a tourist's paradise. I never cease being surprised at the excellence of the hotels in such remote places. Elena dolled herself up in her native costume, and we set out to see the sights. No one dreams of doing anything, even planting corn, without consulting the witch doctor, who mumbles a prayer and pronounces the day lucky or not. Their equipment for weaving is so simple that it's amazing the variety they get in one textile. 2 sticks and 2 pieces of rope, that's all. The pieces of rope are tied to the ends of the sticks. One rope is passed over a post and the other over the weaver's body. She sits on her heels at just the right distance from the post to hold the loom taut, and from such stuff are these extraordinary textiles born. In the square where the market would be held tomorrow, some of the villagers were practicing the dance of the conquest. I thought the gaudy costumes and grotesque masks made amusing entertainment, and it wasn't till later that Elena told me that the men take the dance and themselves very seriously. They're leading men in their communities, chosen as an honor or permitted to take part in order to fulfill some sacred vow. A man loses considerable prestige who fails to perform perfectly in public. Get in step, Miguel. At first, the Indians advance. But alas, in the end, they're beaten back. Their brave leader is killed, and so the dance ends. Sunday dawned, a glorious day, and we rushed to the square so as not to miss one moment of the famous market. It was unbelievable. Why, yesterday afternoon this was a piece of bare ground with hardly a soul in sight. Now it was filled with hundreds of tents and thousands of people. What a picnic for sociologists. All those selling the same things sit in groups, and each vendor always occupies the same place. The conquerors were amazed by this orderliness, and also by the cleanliness. I was amazed, too, especially by the cleanliness. They really put us to shame. It's fun just to talk to the natives and play with them at their game of selling. The market is a place of high humor and much gossip. But there's no high-pressure selling. You get everything you need here, from supplies for the kitchen to clothes and personal adornment. I'd like to adorn myself in several of these lovely textiles. The Indian women wear them with such nonchalance. When they're not being used to carry things, they pop them on their heads in a way that shades their eyes from the sun. The Chichicastenango market is a combination of savory smells and sounds, human, animal, and vegetable, fabulous and fascinating. The early missionaries complained that the Indians preferred attending markets to churches. At Chichi, they combine the two. In the middle of the morning, there's a procession. The head men of the church carry one of the saints through the streets. The image of each saint is kept in the leader's house and is brought out only for these religious festivities. Fascinating as is everything else about Chi-Chi, the religious ceremony on the steps of the church is the climax of your visit. The church is, of course, Christian, but to play safe, the Indians also use an altar to the gods of their ancestors, and it's right here on the very steps of the church. Yes, sir, they burn the sacred incense here on the altar, and then slowly and with great dignity they mount the steps. As they wreathe themselves in copal fumes, they go inside to worship the Christian God. Usually the men do the praying for the whole family. They pray just as though they were chatting with a friend. What a strange, haunting ceremony. So weird and unreal in its simple unfolding of primitive ritual. A lingering reminder of the dim past. It's a land of ever-changing panoramas, of mystery-laden customs. I'll never forget these past few weeks. I've seen so much and done so much. And the most amazing thing of all, it's only a few hours away by Pan American Clipper.